In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Origin DOM test type. Hey guys, Dan here. We're looking at the DOM test type today. Now, I don't exactly remember the circumstances under which this kit came into my possession. I think I may have picked it up during one of HLJ's holiday sales, just to like round out an order. And I remember that this kit sat on my shelf for a while. I don't even remember if I really looked at reviews when I purchased this kit. I knew that it was essentially like a lot of the other Mono-Eye Origin kits. You know, it used a lot of the parts from the Zaku. It was going to have a lot of the same problems that the Zaku has, like the really lazy seam lines that run down the forearms. But you know what? I also really like the design. For a while there, I was considering modifying it into oh, what's her name? The girl from 8th MS team. She has the Zaku test type. It was like a high mobility test type, but it definitely had like the legs of a Dom, and it had the rounded shoulder of a Zaku 1. Oh god, it's gonna kill me now. I'm not gonna remember her name. In any case, what's her name? I was considering making her mobile suit. Just because I really, it looked like a prototype, and I had the parts that I needed to make that conversion, because I just have some, you know, random Origin Zaku parts laying around here from other projects that, you know, haven't been used. But after some consideration, the fact that the P-Bandai version of that kit eventually came out, I was like, you know what, it's been done. It's been done with an actual parts kit, and there are some differences, like with the feet, that I didn't notice when I was kind of planning mine out. So I just decided, you know what, okay, we'll do something else. And I think by the time I got into this kit, Bandai had just released like maybe the first or second version of the Origin Waterslide decals, and it included just a few for this kit. I think probably only 5 or 6 decals that are exclusive to this kit, but it doesn't include, for example, any of the piping for the legs or the skirt or the shoulders. It doesn't have everything that you need to make a duplicate of the scheme featured on the box, which is kind of a bummer, because I do like the Kotoki style white piping that's all over the kit. I think it's really neat. So I decided, you know what, I have to do something else on this kit if we're not going to do just a stock build with a decal scheme. And what I opted to do is I looked back at a earlier design, which was the Goof Custom from 2014 maybe, where I had done this faded transition on the legs, the skirt, the shoulders, and maybe the hands. I don't remember exactly. But I decided to basically take that element and incorporate it into this build as well, where I just did a gradual fade in these parts. And, you know, it looks okay. It's probably something I should have pushed further up those parts. It doesn't really, it stands out because it's a lighter color and it contrasts with the dark armor, but it could stand out a lot more. And in hindsight, actually looking at it, there is some inconsistency in the shading in areas where the brush I must have skipped it off the part and then back on. I really kind of have to look for those little mistakes, but they are there. But I think it was an interesting kind of addition to the scheme. I did use the decals that were available with that Waterslide set. They're mostly the O2s on the chest, the piping on the chest, the Xeon emblem on the chest, as well as the O2 on the knees and the leg. And then I added, this is also from the Goof Custom, is a red stripe on the chest, where on the Goof Custom it was a yellow stripe. It's just a diagonal little stripe there, which you probably don't see most of the time. I just kind of like the way it looks. There may have actually been some sort of MSV version of some Xeon mobile suit that incorporated that into the design element that I just decided to take it from, but I honestly couldn't tell you. So if you do happen to know if that's actually a design element from one of the MSV series or manga or something that isn't mainstream, I would actually like to know. Maybe I'm not actually crazy. Maybe I did take it from somewhere else. In terms of issues with this kit, big ones are just kind of the standard seam lines that you expect on the high grade. I already mentioned the Origin series has these dumb seam lines that go down the forearms. I have a tutorial on how to fix them. Despite that, yeah, it's still lazy design, so, you know, come on Bandai, I would expect better from you. Seam lines on the shoulders, that you pretty much expect the way, Bandai makes HG shoulders. The real disappointing part really was the bazooka, though, because it's basically 2/2 of a clamshell that you put together, and then you wind up having to glue everything pretty much down the length of the barrel, if I remember correctly. And that sucked. There's not much else to say other than that sucked. And unfortunately, Bandai does that with a lot of their longer bazooka-type weapons on the HG kits. It's just kind of lame. The only other thing about this kit that I didn't really like is the fact they only give you one blade for the heat rod. So you can't have one that looks like it's ignited and it's hot, and have one that's cold. It just looks like it's always hot. So if you leave it in the backpack, it looks like it's on, and it's gonna like melt through the backpack. I'm probably the only one who cares about that, but I guess it's a nitpick. All in, I like the design. I'd consider getting another one and probably doing, a different color scheme on it. Maybe even go back and it's Aina Sahalin. That came into my brain. Go back and maybe do a riff on Aina's kit, or Aina's mobile suit. I'm sure she wasn't the only one who had that specific high mobility test type. I'm pretty sure actually maybe one of the other prototypes got destroyed because weren't they ambushed in the beginning of 8th MSD? I don't remember, but I could probably do a different color scheme riff on that if I wanted to. Don't know if I'll ever get around to that. I actually really like the Mono Eye kits from the Origin series, and we keep getting new releases. I think the last one was the Act Zaku, which looks really awesome, so maybe I'll get to it, maybe I never will. Who knows? So in terms of recommendation, this is a kit I would recommend, like pretty much any of the Mono Eye kits from the Origin series. I really like them. I've built several of them. I have several more in my backlog, and yeah, they have their faults, but they make some pretty badass looking kits once you put some effort into it. And you have a ton of choices for Origin Mono Eyes these days. I think you have like 4 different variants of the Zaku 1, at least as many of the Zaku 2, the Bugu, the Waf, the Goof. I hope we keep getting more Mono Eye mobile suits from that series, just because in general, I've really enjoyed them. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to support me in a more personal way, and get yourself some sweet rewards, click on that Patreon link.